Hello and welcome to Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather TV news. I'm Stuart Pittman, Chief Photojournalist for QCM Plus, and I'm glad you're here. This week, we're going to the chapel. When it comes to things most TV news shooters don't want to point a camera at, weddings are at the top of the list. The pomp, the circumstance, that one uncle who wants to show you his camcorder. But modern wedding videos are big business. And we're speaking with a former news photog who's cashed in on that trend by upping his game. Holy matrimony. And to tell us all about that are two people. First off, it's Kevin Pinto, photojournalist here at Queen City News Plus, and our special guest, Mark Campbell, wedding photog extraordinaire. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
We're doing great, man. I'm so glad you joined us because you have to educate us on shooting weddings. And I think I know what it's like to shoot weddings because I've done it sporadically since the early 90s, but I've never done it to the caliber that it's done these days. Wedding videos have become very sophisticated from what I'm used to. And I find it fascinating because personally, I would rather shoot an extended hostage standoff than a wedding. And I don't mean anything bad by that. It's just weddings are tense. I mean, there's no mother-in-law at a hostage standoff. But instead of me talking about what it's like to shoot weddings, I need you to educate me on what it's really like to shoot weddings. Because first of all, explain your background and what it is you're doing now.
Yeah. So, as someone who's also shot hostage situations, I can attest weddings are a lot easier than hostage situations.
Okay.
So
Are they? No.
I think so. I think so. So I grew up in Dallas. That's where I'm at right now. And then I actually worked with Kevin at our first news station job together,
Right.
in Wichita Falls, Texas, which is just North Texas, about 15 minutes south of Oklahoma. And that was kind of our first job. That was my first job in news, only job in news. And then my wife and I relocated to Dallas, but I couldn't really get another news job down there because it was
Right.
such a massive market jump. So I got into education, I got into teaching, and I taught broadcast journalism.
Wow.
And before I did that, my sister-in-law was getting married, and I had access to all like the news cameras that our station had. And so I shot a wedding with a news camera, and it was terrible. But someone thought that was good, and so they hired me for their wedding. And someone thought that was good, so they hired me for that wedding. And someone thought that was good, so they hired me for that wedding. And then before I knew it, I had like this whole part-time business going on. So, and then in 2021, whenever COVID happened, the world kind of stopped, but weddings, I don't know, like had like the small little speed bump. People still wanted to get married, but they didn't have their guests coming. So if anything, that it kind of helped magnify the importance of capturing video and capturing photography.
Yeah.
So our business just ramped up, and then in 2021 is when we went full time doing this.
Well, I know there's a lot to it that we can't get into technically because it might be kind of boring, but give me an idea of what's the overall difference between rolling up on a news scene that you have no control over and you have to document as opposed to being at a wedding and having, I mean, you don't have that much control over the wedding, do you? You've got to be there and get everything. There's no going back and redoing it. That's got to be some pressure.
Yeah. So it's definitely like there's still like live events. And when it comes to like comparing news to comparing weddings, like they're both live events. They're both live things that are happening.
Okay.
But like there is some like pre-production process that goes into it of like meeting with the couple beforehand, like to asking them like what are moments that are super important to you? What are like where do you want us to put emphasis on? And like sometimes we can have like I'll hire on a second shooter to come help me work, or even a third shooter depending on the scale of the wedding. So it just helps to have assistance. I don't think it's as high stress as like a lot of people think it is. I think because like throughout the process, like hopefully by the time their wedding comes around, we've met with them and talked with them, and developed some sort of a trust relationship over the span of a year. So anyway, I think that's kind of it helps that live event feel take place a little
Sure.
smoother.
I don't know, man. I covered a wedding. I did one wedding, and I think I asked you for advice on it, and completely ignored you in every way. No, you were like, rent stuff, and I think do you still do rentals, or are you like a half and half kind of thing? As far
Or
as
you
your
come up
gear?
with gear?
Yeah.
I own all my gear. There's like every once in a while I'll need to rent like an extra lens, and so I'll just go to like the shop in Dallas and I'll just go pick up like there was a clip that just played over here of me like on the dance floor. I like to use a really wide lens on the dance floor that I don't own, so I'll go rent that one. Or if I need like an extra like super big zoom lens, I'll go rent that one. But I own about 99% of the gear that I use.
That's crazy
Yeah.
to me because back in the day, I remember shooting weddings with a couple of camcorders and getting paid in whiskey, and that was very a low standard of quality. That though I tried my best. These days, I see wedding videos and I'm stunned at the level of sophistication from the drones to the GoPros to just the beautiful editing, the DSLRs. Um,
Mhm.
do you think the average news shooter could stumble into shooting weddings and hit his mark immediately, or would it take a quite a learning curve?
I think it would take a little bit of a learning curve. I think really truthfully like the barrier of entry into weddings is pretty small. Because there's people who have a really small budget. Like I got married and our entire budget was $9,000 including our honeymoon. And we spent $0 on a videographer. We just got a friend who worked at the news station to do it for free. And I think if he wanted to, he probably could have ventured into weddings, like literally exactly how I did. Hey, there's Kevin's wedding. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Um, So, and that was what, 4 or 5 years ago? And this wedding right here was one that I shot
Feels
in
like
November.
forever.
Um, I don't know whose wedding that is. That's not my wedding. But
No, no.
anyway,
it's but that's true.
um,
And look,
yeah, but
my
I think I think there's a barrier of entry that most anyone could adapt to, especially if they're used to working in like high pressure situations. Actually, this 2 weeks ago, I shot a wedding, and one of the bridesmaids was she's a reporter for a news station, and they hired me for 2 days. One was the day before, one's the actual wedding day, and the day before, after the coverage is over, I didn't have anything to do, so I went back home and I went back to my Airbnb and I just edited like a quick little preview of what the day before looked like between like their welcome party and their toasts and like everything like that. And I posted on Instagram and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, how did you get that done so fast?" And the bridesmaid was like, "It's because he used to work in news, so he understands like how fast you need to be with this turnaround time."
Deadlines, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think if anything, like coming from news has helped with those turnaround times a lot.
It's
I
true, yeah. Because with any application I've done, I've left this place a couple times. I've left news like multiple times. So like at
keep
any
coming
time,
back.
yeah, I don't know, like a fool. But anyways, but that's one of the biggest draws is like how fast can you edit? And I was like, deadlines taught me how to edit quickly, especially in Texas. If you remember, our minimum package time was like 2:30,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now it's like
Good God.
yeah, they'll yell at you if it's 2:30 here. It's
Yeah.
1:15, 1:30 is
Yeah.
the max. So
Wow.
you're gonna get yelled at. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that would be so nice back in Texas. And then like I was saying, so I did the wedding. I did the wedding for a meteorologist here actually. Me and my wife, and then when we show up to the venue, we had like really bad, okay cameras, but not like the quality. And we don't have lighting, like it's just bad. We
Mhm.
don't have the flashlights that happen, all the technology stuff.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
says photojournalist on the bottom of my name, but it's not real. Anyways, so we
I
get to
didn't
the
know you mentioned
venue
that.
and it's just glass behind them and the sun. And
So you'll be backlit. They're gonna be backlit really bad.
really bad. And I was like, so are there any lights on the other side to, counteract it? Like, oh, we don't have any lights. Like, okay, well,
Yeah.
hopefully it turns out fine. I wasn't very happy with the wedding video. They did, hopefully he watches this, but
I think they loved it from what I
that's what they say. I think the photos turned out. We actually got in a fight with the photographer. We'll talk about it in a second. But but the video was mad okay. I would it wasn't the quality that I would have liked. But
Hey, but your first wedding though,
it-
like you gotta give yourself
in our
some grace.
last, yeah, in our last, and and he only paid us like $100 or something, so it was like whatever, and it was
That's
more than
fine.
$100, but just barely enough.
That's
To
fine.
make it worth it. The photographer got in my way, by the way. That's the story. Apparently he's like a really famous, big deal photographer.
Okay.
And he kept like jumping in the way, and I like pulled him aside. I was like, "You need to stop. I'm tired of this." And he's like this. He looked like a young child, but he's not because apparently he does really big deal stuff. But
So
he was in my way, so.
so you created an uncomfortable situation on the edge of someone else's wedding.
Well, we did it to the side, right? So I didn't want to ruin someone's wedding. I was like, "Hey, let's come on over here, bud."
That's very professional.
Walked him over. Yeah, exactly. See, and then I yelled at him.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's something to be said in that you can't, I guess you can, but you wouldn't want to have to restage a wedding. I mean, much like news where you're not supposed to miss anything. Um, we're not getting paid the bigger bucks that wedding photog might be getting paid. I just got to think the pressure to get everything is paramount to what you're doing, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that's groundbreaking journalism.
Yeah.
It's one thing that I've done to adapt is like during ceremony, like the ceremony is the most important part of the day. And so whenever I'll like it's at least in news. I don't know if this is something that you guys do as well as people who behind the camera, but like you record, you get your clip and you stop recording. And then you point to something else, you record, you get your clip, you stop recording. And then you'll come back with like 45 or more, like 12-second clips.
Right.
For the ceremony, I just press record and I just let it run the whole time. And like I'll leave the ceremony with like, I don't know, 40 gigs of footage from like a 30-minute ceremony. But it helps so much just making sure like I don't have to think about, it's one less thing to think about like, oh, did I press the red button? Like, yes, okay, it's recording. Or like I could just press record and just get a reaction of like a guest here and like go back to the couple. Or like if I see like a really pretty bird flying in there, I'll just point it up to the bird. It's just one less thing for me to have to do. So I'm always capturing. Also, like I have a tripod on the groom, I have a tripod on the bride, I have a tripod capturing like a wide angle of everything. I have a second shooter capturing everything. So like there is a lot of pressure to get everything, but like I know it's covered. I know it. And like I have the groom mic'd, I have the bride mic'd, I have the officiant mic'd, I'm tapped into the DJ system. So I have a drone going like during the beginning part. So I have literally all angles covered of everything. So, but like during my first few years, it was super nervous because I was like, I don't have a second shooter or I don't have the luxury of having 5 cameras. It was just one camera.
Right.
So I think over time, like you just learn the formula and you learn to get that down, and that's kind of what you roll with.
Talk to me though about the editing of the wedding. These things don't put themselves together. I'm curious, for your average wedding, do you know how much time you might spend editing?
That's a good question. I think it kind of depends on what all they're wanting in terms of like deliverables. My average booking always wants a trailer. And so if their wedding is on a Saturday, they want like and I always deliver like a minute to like 2-minute little like quick little recap for them. And I try my hardest to get that back to them by Wednesday because usually they're honeymooning, if they're on their beach, like whatever. I try my hardest to get them some sort of like quick little recap summary of their wedding day or wedding weekend within like 72 hours. And so that's normally what I'm spending the quick time on. And then after that, the full film probably takes me about 3 months to get back to them. But I usually spend about 2 to 3 weeks actually editing it like in my office. The other time, like in between delivering their trailer and starting their film, I'm working on previous weddings. So in the actual editing bay, maybe like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not that's nuts because yeah, obviously, and I'm sure if you didn't work in news, it might be longer. I feel like I don't know you're because I'm sure you're giving yourself your own deadline or whatever. I remember you did our wedding and it was you were pretty fast. Now maybe you just cared about me a little bit more, but or maybe you didn't have as much work yet because that was within your first couple years.
What year did you get married?
This is it's a trap.
It's like
Did Jenna put you up to this? Yeah,
10 years ago, I think.
yeah, something like that. Feels like forever ago. No, it was 20. Where's my ring? Hold on.
Dude, it was like 2 years
It's
ago.
on my ring, but it's fake. 22. 22.
Okay. I can pull
I'm
up
gonna,
my
I'm gonna
spreadsheet.
edit this part out.
So that's
2022. You
But,
got married
you will
September.
learn.
September 9th, 2022. I had no, that was a really busy September for me. I'm looking at my spreadsheet right now. What was your question? I forgot what you asked.
How fantastic was working with Kevin
Yeah.
and Jenna.
I do remember Kevin gave me sunglasses as a little like
did.
gift for me, which I still have. It was awesome, man. It was our first time in North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina. I love Kevin. Whenever he asked me to shoot their wedding, I was so honored. I don't know. We should get.
And you're dancing there.
What's going on here?
Catching a vibe.
Setting the tone.
That was probably 2021.
No, that was my wedding.
What?
Yes.
Okay, 2022. That was your wedding. Yeah, that was your wedding.
Because remember, I took the camera for you. Say, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Because I
do
was gonna
remember that.
invite you to my wedding regardless.
That's right.
And so it got canceled. If you remember the Puerto Rico trip, you got.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
Look at Kevin and Gina looking all glad.
Yeah, that's all. It's all Mark.
I see Gina every day in sweatpants as a photog. To see her all girled up like that is quite something. Beautiful. And then
Yeah.
there's that guy.
I know. Look at that is the funniest shot, and I had to keep it in there because that was so corny when we thought of it. I was like, oh, that's all
Y'all
Bob
proposed that. Y'all
Yeah.
proposed that to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
and we got it the first try too, where it was like everyone toot 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 toot, and you were like, yo, you guys got it.
I noticed that you got extensive shots of the dog.
Yeah.
Ollie.
Over, yeah.
Oliver, yeah, and Oliver got some views on TikTok.
Is
He
that a
did.
common thing that the family says, hey, you know, you got to get a goldfish or aardvark or whatever? I mean,
No goldfishes or aardvarks, lots of dogs. I would
Yeah.
say probably like, I don't know, 20% of our weddings have some sort of a dog feature, like some sort of a dog factor in there, whether it be like the ring bearer, or like they bring their dog like on the day of, they have a first look with their dogs. One couple had they did their first dance and then their dog joined in with them on their first dance. People with their dogs are crazy.
yeah, they are.
But you loved ours. He delivered.
course.
He completely. You know what? Honestly, the hardest part was that he almost took away from me looking at Jenna though, because I was so distracted by him. Want to make sure he was fine and like he was
Right.
greeting everybody as dogs do.
Yeah, I think you were spending most of the time, and Jenna was walking down. I think you were petting Oliver, telling Oliver, "Good dog, good dog."
Yeah.
And then before you know it, Jenna was already there, and you were like, "Did you see Oliver walk down the aisle?"
One has to focus. you know.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, dude, you're not gonna cry. You're not gonna cry." I was like, "No, honestly, I'm just not. I probably wasn't gonna cry anyways." I think I choked up a little bit when I gave up, a little part of a story that no one knew.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was getting some people.
Well,
But we'll jump into it.
you should have reached some level of emotion on your wedding.
I was emotional for
You
sure.
should,
Yeah,
you should.
very very emotional. So
Speaking of things that would make me emotional, as a father of 2 grown daughters, that's paying the. And I'm not asking for your
what was it?
rate-
Paying the bill.
paying the bill.
All right.
I'm not asking for your rate card by any stretch, but what are the parameters of the kind of money you charge for a wedding? Because back in my day, it was a lot cheaper and simpler than it is.
They paid rocks and sticks. There's an
Those
old
rocks
there
and
it is,
sticks, yeah.
So
And whiskey
I,
apparently.
I don't accept rocks. I do
Okay.
accept paper. I do know that
All right, we're gonna kick him out. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Look at the time. Anyway,
And,
no rocks, the occasional stick.
I do know that I don't remember what we charged Kevin, but I do know in that year we were
I
in like
remember.
that 4,000-ish range. Maybe we're a little, I don't remember exactly what it was, but now my starting rate started at 9,000, which is
Right.
well and beyond the average of like wedding videographers. I think like the starting, like if Stuart and Kevin were to make a wedding videography duo, you could, if you guys had zero experience, you just owned a camera, like you guys could probably charge anywhere in the $1,000 to $1,500 range for
Right.
an 8-hour day. I do think that's kind of like where the industry is kind of starting at. And then once you get into like you can definitely get an established, like solid videographer for a wedding for like anywhere in the $2,500 to $4,000 range. And then anywhere up to that, like that $4,000 to $6,500 range, you're getting like a good solid person. And the $6,500, I think $7,000 north of that, you're getting like a true professional who has been in the industry for a long time and is established, has great experience, has a great portfolio. Like that's kind of where that price point is around. And then you get in like the people who are charging like 20 grand, who are extremely like in the ultra luxury market, who are doing these, multi-million-dollar weddings. That's kind of the price breakdown for those different markets.
Yeah, I think we were around 4,000 to 6,000, and he still messages me once a year saying, "You guys got such a deal." That was like our top of the line.
No.
Yeah,
You guys paid $4,000 for photo and video. We gave you all a really good deal.
you did because you're my friend.
There you
I
go.
think we gave you the friends and family discount.
And we did, yeah. What a nice guy. Thanks, Mark, brother. So when people like, I try to recommend you to other people, and they're like, "How much did you charge?" I'm like, I'm gonna leave that to Mark because I don't want to say what we paid and then them come to you and expect that same thing. So I try to hook you up, Mark, but I also know that you're not gonna give any.
It's okay. Tell your rich friends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both of them.
yeah. I'll find all of them. I work in the news industry, Mark. I don't know if you know, but none of us are rich.
Whatever money there was in the business is
It's gone.
long gone.
Mhm.
I will say though, something that's changed the news business is the TikTok and the YouTubeification of video.
TikToking.
I don't know that has changed wedding video because people want that certain cinematic look, but all the rules I grew up with, wide, medium, tight, good lighting, action, reaction, um, some of that's gone out the window with vertically held, handheld, everything selfie, look at me. The standards of video don't matter as much as they used to. I know that's an old talking, but does any of that have any kind of translation into wedding videos? Wedding videos seem to be they've gotten more complicated and sophisticated as so much of video has gotten more handheld and simple. And there's no question there. I didn't know if that was your same experience.
No, that's a really good point because I see a lot of people who just pick up cameras and just go and start their own wedding videography business because they think the barrier to entry is like minimal, um, and they don't get those like action reaction shots or like they'll get a ton of medium shots, but they won't get really any sort of tight shots.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's something that I probably struggled with a lot early on, especially with like dance floor. So like dance floor, it's really easy to get a medium shot like this one of me dancing.
Yeah.
That's a medium shot. But then like now I'm recognizing in the weddings that I'm doing now, that had like a live band and have like all the lighting and have like this packed dance floor, it's way more impactful. Just step off, get a super wide shot of the whole dance floor. And man, I posted a trailer recently that had this epic like wide shot, and the singer for the band like jumps up and like does a splits midair and lands, and it was just this epic like perfect shot. And then you'll get people who are like, what are the tight shots we can do the dance for? Like, is someone drinking a beer and like someone will like have a beer and they'll pass it to their friend, and like if you can just get a shot of them like their hands in the air like they're dancing, like telling it like narratively using different tight shots and wide shots and medium shots and like drone shots to balance out those medium shots helps so freaking much. And you'll see other people who do it and it's just medium shot, medium shot, medium shot, medium shot, medium shot, and it's just kind of boring. So yes, I think the storytelling element of going like wide, medium, tight, and like the action reaction. Like if someone's dancing and someone does the splits and like you just quickly pan up to their like face and they're like freaking out or something, like
Sure.
that helps tell the story way more um, than just a bunch of medium shots throughout the day.
That's interesting because having shot a couple of weddings under duress against my will, I know I probably attacked it like a news photographer, wide, medium, tight, and until the actual ceremony starts, and then even I know to roll and don't miss a thing. In that time shooting weddings, though, I've got to think there have been some weird, unscripted situations. The weddings I've been to, there's always something funky going on. When you're there shooting everything, trying to make everything look nice, you've got to kind of roll with the punches, I would think. Anything pop in your mind?
Yeah. The one story that really like is at the forefront of my brain. So like 90% of the weddings I work with are with Jenna, who's my photography partner. But this wedding was one that I was solo. And so I didn't really know what to do here. Or there was another photographer I hired that wasn't Jenna. But it's the reception side of things. People are dancing, people are drinking, people are having a good time. And the bride's family, I don't want to say older. There was a grandma, and they wanted to take a family picture, and they're these chairs, they're like the folding chairs, not super like sturdy, but they're sturdy enough for like someone who's young, like me or Kevin, could stand on and feel comfortable. And I guess they all huddled around these chairs, and the grandma decided to stand on one of them, and everyone was like, "Don't stand on that, don't stand on that," and she stood on it, and then she fell, and then she's like everyone freaks out because she fell and she's not feeling good. And then she's just kind of sitting down, like hunched over, like the meme from like the Popeyes
Yeah,
chicken lady. And then before I know it, she just goes limp and she just falls to the ground. And everyone thought she died. And they called 911, and 911 came, and she's unresponsive. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen at a wedding. Ambulance came, they got her loaded up. No one knew. Everyone thought she died when she left. And then they got word she's responding. She's breathing. So it was a weird like lull in the night. Like, what do you do? How do you, the dancing just started. So it wasn't like, I was freaking out because I was like, how do I finish this wedding video? There's no dancing here. So anyway, everyone just kind of went to the bar for an hour and drank. And
Did you charge
afterwards,
extra?
I did not. No, I can't charge extra for that.
I'm just saying, a little spot news broke out. Want to cover that?
Yeah, you could have went and shot the lights out, right? And like the ambulance lights or something, and done like something cool with that.
No, I didn't include that in their film. I don't think
Okay.
they wanted that in their film.
Whatever.
But her
Not
grandma's
mine.
good. Grandma's good. And they danced afterwards for like an hour and a half.
As
So
well they should.
I'm
As
sure it
well
was
they
great
should.
dancing too. It's probably just like
it was really weird. The bride went on the mic and was like, "Hey, we're not going to stop the party. Everyone's really sad. But I know she wants us to celebrate our marriage. And I think at that point, shortly after, they got word that she's responding. So they were like, hey, she's alive. Let's party. So it was all good. It was good.
I love that. Grandma took a dive, but we're going to carry on and play one more song.
Yeah.
So it's like doing news.
Much like news.
Yeah.
Before, and we're going to wrap in a minute because we're running out of time. But is there any overall lesson you learned in news that really helped you in shooting weddings besides learning how to turn a camera on and all that?
Yeah. I know that in news, a lot of the cameras were like, in auto mode or whatever. Like I had to learn how to do manual mode with my camera, just speed, like how to be fast with editing, because you have to do stuff fast in news. Sometimes we get back to the station at 4:00 when your packages due at 5:00. And by the time the reporter's done writing it, you only have like 20 minutes to edit everything. That might be extreme, but like sometimes those are the parameters that you have to work with weddings. Like we've done weddings where like you have a same day edit. Like we'll finish a ceremony and like we have an hour to get something up, and they want to watch a video in the background during cocktail hour, like on a projector. And so we've had to do like same day edits like that, which are extremely exhausting. But thankfully, like I think my experience with news kind of helped me prepare for situations like that.
Well, this has been an education. It doesn't want to make me shoot weddings at all.
No, you really haven't sold it to us. The money sounds great, but
The money sounds
it's not good.
fantastic, but the whole getting there and getting everything and being dressed up and dealing with the in-laws and the drunk uncles and all that stuff, I will take a pass. Mark Campbell, Kevin Pinto, you have educated me in an area that I didn't want to be educated in, but I feel better about it anyway. And I thank you very much. And this has been the latest episode of Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather and cover TV news as well as the occasional wedding. We'll be back next week with another episode. I'll be surprised as you as to what it's about. See you then.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.